What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness set up something that is going to be insanely huge in the MCU. But I think it also sets something up that fans might not be expecting, but will for sure want to see take place in the MCU. And that is an Avengers versus the X-Men storyline. Now, before you start thinking that this could be just another Civil War storyline, while that could be a possibility, I actually don't think it's going to be like that at all. I think this is going to be a full-on battle, a full-on war with the Avengers and the X-Men and more. And to top it all off, I actually think it is going to be a multiversal war. And this will set up the events that eventually lead us to Secret Wars, which Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness clearly set up. And if you've seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, you might know where I'm going with this, but if you haven't, we are going to be talking about some massive spoilers, so this is your spoiler warning. And of course, if you're new, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. So, of course, in Multiverse of Madness, we were introduced to the Illuminati, which consisted of Professor Xavier, who of course was a mutant, Mr. Fantastic, who of course is part of the Fantastic Four, and of course, Black Bolt, who is an Inhuman. Now, we don't have any of these people or groups in the MCU yet. That we know of course, they can exist and probably do exist in our universe. But I don't think that the mutants and the Fantastic Four in our universe are actually going to be the problem here. I think it's going to be the groups in the other Ultimate universe, which I'll explain in a bit, are actually going to be the problem because Wanda, from our universe via dreamwalking, is the one who killed all of the strongest leaders of the groups in that universe. And I'm guessing that there probably are going to be some repercussions for what Wanda did, and what Doctor Strange did as well by traveling to that universe and bringing the Scarlet Witch there. However, let me just add that I think the introduction of the mutants and the Fantastic Four in our universe, Earth 616, definitely has to happen before Secret Wars. But before we get to Secret Wars, I believe that the Avengers versus the X-Men has to happen. But I don't think it's just the X-Men that they're going to have to deal with. I think it's also going to be some of the remaining members of the Fantastic Four, including the wife of Reed Richards, Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, her brother and brother-in-law of Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, Reed Richards' best friend, the Thing, plus, not to mention his son, Franklin Richards, one of the most powerful mutants to ever exist. An Omega-level mutant. Franklin is literally God tier. In fact, at one point in time in the comics, Galactus is actually dead, but then Franklin revives him and then Galactus becomes his herald. Also, not to mention another version of Franklin Richards in the Earth 9997 universe manages to evolve and actually becomes Galactus himself, taking the Silver Surfer as his herald. So, this insanely powerful mutant is the son of Reed Richards, who was just murdered by the Scarlet Witch. And here's the thing, in the comics, Franklin Richards has the power to warp reality, kind of like the Scarlet Witch. He also has the ability to literally create universes, and even as an infant he was extremely powerful and managed to save the Fantastic Four then. And I'm gonna guess that he's pretty upset that Daddy just died at the hands of a witch. And I'm guessing that the X-Men are gonna be pretty pissed off as well, that their leader, Professor Xavier, and the head of the school that literally takes in mutants was just killed. And Black Bolt was the king of the Inhumans, so I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna be pissed off there as well. Now, clearly there was some type of an Avengers team because Mordo says that Captain Peggy Carter was the first Avenger. So they might have a group that's going to seek revenge too. They know that the Scarlet Witch didn't die, and they probably don't want to risk her being alive in the multiverse where she can kind of do whatever she wants. Plus, not to mention, they might think that our universe, Earth 616, might be a threat to them since it essentially already was. And it could threaten their universe still with an incursion. So I think they might take action against our universe and the heroes, who right now aren't exactly the Avengers team, but hey, they'll have to assemble. And here's where I think we're going to be getting the Avengers versus the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Inhumans, and whoever else might want to seek revenge. But it might not even be about revenge or vengeance. They might just want to take out the Scarlet Witch. And the Scarlet Witch's reality warping powers going up against Franklin Richards' reality warping powers, I think will definitely ramp up the dangers of an incursion occurring. And I do think that that's all going to take place, because that is exactly how Secret Wars happens in the comics. In the comics, incursion happens between the Earth 616 universe and the Ultimate universe. And if you noticed in the Illuminati scene, where the Illuminati was telling Doctor Strange the truth, they say that his ultimate self is the one that formed the Illuminati in the first place. So this actually could be the so-called Ultimate Universe. Now, obviously, things are a little bit different from the comics, but since Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness focuses on this universe, and the Illuminati and the teams of this universe, and not to mention the threat of incursion, I do believe that this is the universe that our Earth will eventually collide with an incursion, and this will set up the events of Secret Wars, which will in turn cause everybody to have to work together. Now, it is worth noting that Franklin Richards in the comics is the one to restore the multiverse. And I think it was very, very specific of the movie, and they made it a point to mention that Reed Richards had kids and a wife that was still alive. Marvel is pretty intentional with everything they do, and since they introduced the Fantastic Four, I think this was pretty intentional. Now, I've seen a lot of talk online about maybe the Beyonder, Galactus, or another huge villain appearing to be the main villain of Secret Wars, since that's how it was in the comics, with specific talk about God Emperor Doom. And while I do think that he is going to be introduced into the MCU sometime soon because the Fantastic Four are coming, I don't believe that he actually has to be in the MCU for Secret Wars to happen. Remember, the movies don't copy the comics page for page. They take general stories or some ideas for stories, and they create movies that are amazing. So don't expect a shot-for-shot Secret Wars, just like Infinity War didn't have the X-Men or the Fantastic Four in it either. So everybody's been wondering who is going to be the villain, but Marvel has already set up the villain, Kang. Kang has already literally mentioned the war between different universes. He literally says multiversal war. And he says that the multiversal war was between his variants fighting each other. So we already know that Kang, and many different versions of him, want to rule the multiverse. And as we saw at the end of Loki, the sacred timeline is no more. A bunch of different branch timelines have been created, and that means that a bunch of different Kangs are coming. So as far as who the villain of Secret Wars is going to be, I believe that we actually already have our villain. He's set up already. Kang the Conqueror, a true Kang the Conqueror, not He Who Remains, not the same person we met at the end of Loki, because as he explains, if you think he's evil, wait till you see his variants. So Kang the Conqueror is being introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where I assume they will explore more of the multiverse and the quantum realm. And I think in this movie we're going to see the groundwork being laid for Secret Wars to actually happen. It's already been happening. We literally heard about incursion in Multiverse of Madness and how it's a big threat, universes colliding. And now we have a villain coming that wants to rule the entire multiverse. And it's gonna take the heroes coming together from different universes to defeat him. A multiversal threat takes a multiversal team. Let's just hope that all the stuff that goes down between them, the Avengers versus the X-Men, gets cleared up so they can get together to take on Kang the Conqueror. And in the meantime, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Would you like to see an Avengers versus the X-Men and other groups movie? And let me know how excited you are for Secret Wars. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on the latest news. For live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.